salaries for
Not sure what I
PNC salaries.
Okay, let's get this already started.
Call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for August 3rd, 2022. Roll call.
Arel?
Here.
Butke?
Here.
Kuhn?
Here.
Lunsky?
Here.
Matichek? Mattson?
Here.
Reichert?
Here.
Sandy? Here. Wasvik?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Reading and approval of the minutes from the July 13th, 2022 Commission meeting. Any objections, deletions, additions? All good? Moved by Ms. Sandy. Second by Mr. Lunsky. Any further discussion? Vote. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved as submitted. I think item 3, maybe we want to introduce the new member. Yeah. We have a new member to the commission. Welcome, Mr. Mattson. Appreciate serving with you. I worked with you in the past, and another good addition to the team.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yep.
All right, with that, item 3.1.
Item 3-1, public hearing fast track replat of east half of Lot 10, all of lots 11 and 12, Block 16 and Lots 7 and 8, Block 17 Skidmore addition, and vacated lots adjacent thereto less the front 3 feet for highway right-of-way located at 418 Gateway Drive and 500 Gateway Drive.
Ms. Edwards.
Sounds good. Let me share the screen for Alex, and hopefully, Alex, you can see the screen.
Yes, I can see it, thank you.
Perfect, sounds good. Gateway Drive, North 5th Street, and Mill Road. There's an old warehouse building located on site that's looking to replat and sell a portion of their east portion of their lot to the neighboring property. With the plat review, we discovered that there's existing utility lines, as you can see, 2 water lines and a sanitary line residing under the addition to the building. These don't happen often, but in the case of a very old building like this, they do come up. And so part of the plat review involved how do we come up with a plan for those utility lines, as they are within the building causing a liability risk should anything happen to it. So there was some conversations and some different easement options that we can do to pursue relocating those lines in the future. All of those things have been agreed upon with the owner. The city will follow up with them on necessary easements to move them, which is why staff is recommending approval at this point, because the owner's on board with all of that and future relocation. So could answer any questions. Al's also available as they are service lines.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for public hearing? Yes,
Who is paying for the relocation?
I don't know that a final set relocation plan is in place, other than it is something that needs to happen in the future. Al maybe can take a step further if there's anything further.
Yeah, I think what we're doing now is just making sure we have the opportunity to relocate if it's something does arise, pipe breaks or something like that. I can't commit the future councils, but normally that kind of activity would be absorbed under our existing utility. It would be something that would go back to the property owner. That's maintenance or capital maintenance that we would do as a city. And we're not planning on relocating anything today. It's just making sure we have the opportunity.
Any other questions? Yes, I'll open the public hearing. Anybody in the audience like to step up and address item 3.1, please do so at this time. Seeing nobody, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the commission. Motion by Mr. Coombs. Second by Mr. Budke. Any further discussion? Seeing no hands, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion 3.1 is approved. 3.2. Motion 3.1
Item
is approved.
3-2, public hearing fast track replat of lots 1 through 35, block 1 of Edgewood Village, second subdivision, located at the 1700 to 1800 block of 41st Avenue South.
Ms. Edwardson.
Sounds good. For this one, we're at 40th Avenue South. For this one, we're at 40th Avenue South. Ball fields are just over. Park District, ball fields are, this area was platted, let me turn off all the water lines here. It's a little bit easier to view than that. The area was platted back with the original Edgewood Village. Platted back with Edgewood Village a few years ago. They're looking on the cul-de-sac. It is a public right-of-way that will be begin construction as far as underground and street later this year, hopefully. And so with that, they're trying to get a couple more lots on the development. We've shared the plat with Public Works, and a recommendation from them was to have consolidated mailboxes, which the owner has agreed to. The consolidated mailboxes allows for a little bit easier snow removal through this corridor, as well as opens up some parking as you can't park in front of the mailbox. So it opens up that a little bit logistically for the maintenance of it. So otherwise, it's a fairly simple replat, fast track, I believe. Can answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Edwardson? Mr. Budke?
So, Andrea, if memory serves, we talked about pedestrian crossings, right? Like pedestrian connections between this circle and the Toby Lane to the south. I had to look back at the minutes. I think this body was like split on it, and then it went to council. I don't know, can you fill in the gaps in my memory?
I don't remember much other than it didn't get included, but
Okay.
there was some, I believe the conversation resulted, it was going from a public right-of-way to a private development, with Toby Lane being completely private, and eventually a homeowners association to administer that. And the question of maintenance and connections came up, and it was ultimately decided, I believe, by the board that there wasn't enough maybe connectivity or two different things to maybe justify it. And that's off the cuff. That's not me reading minutes to remember exactly what the conversation was. But ultimately, it was decided that it would not be part of it. I do know when we talked about it, that would have included the removal of lots from 41st as well as from Toby Lane in order to have that corridor go through. And part of the goal with this was affordable and as many lots as possible. So I think that was all kind of what added to the decision not to include a connection here.
Kind of the way I remember it too.
One other question then, on the plat here, there's 8-foot private drainage easement. That's kind of sort of like between lots Z and Y and 51, 52. Could you just describe that? And I mean, could something like that serve as an easement for access like we have in other neighborhoods?
Al can tell me if I speak out of turn, but that's needed for the utility connections there. If there was an opportunity, if it had been decided that we would put a corridor in there, that yes, would have been the likely spot. We would have married it up to have a connection down south. It's just, to do that though, the city also needs to put in the sidewalk probably to delineate to neighbors before they buy that this corridor exists and is intended to be a connection. We just took this as a public utility for, underground needs, not an actual pedestrian corridor.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, nothing further. I'll open the public. Oh, Miss.
I just have a quick
Miss
question.
Sandy.
So does Thompson Homes actually own this property, or is it still an Edgewood property?
Thompson Homes does own it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, with that, I'll open the public hearing. Anybody in the audience like to step up and address item 3.2, please do so at this time. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the commission.
Move approval.
Moved by Miss Sandy.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Kuhn. Any further discussion? Mr. Budke?
Just one comment. My view on this hasn't really changed. I still feel that there should be a pedestrian connection. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing no hands, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side.
Aye.
Okay, 3.2 passes. 3.3.
Item 3-3, public hearing, ordinance to amend zoning map to Meyer PUD Concept Plan Amendment Number 2 to include all of Meyer's 5th edition located at 2200 South 42nd Street.
Ms. Edwardson.
This one would be South 42nd, Alaris is just off to the north, the Edgewood Assisted Living is here. It'd be the last and final phase of the Empire Townhouse development that's being constructed. You can see the first phase completed here earlier this year. They're currently working on phase 2. They would like to get phase 3 rezoned and potentially permitted for construction this year yet. So with that, I can answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Edmondson before I open the public hearing? Seeing none, open the public hearing. Anybody in the audience like to step up and address item 3.3, please do so at this time. Seeing no one, we'll bring it back to the commission. Mr. Matichak moves approval. Second by Mr. Lunsky. Any discussion? Seeing no hands, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion 3.3 passes. 3.4.
Item 3-4, public hearing, ordinance to amend Chapter 8 of the Land Development Code, amending Section 18-03013 relating to off-premise signs specifically along South Washington Street.
Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, Chairman Waswick. This is an item that hasn't changed since last time, but for the benefit of Mr. Mattson, who wasn't here last month or probably previous couple of years even, what we're doing here is the city of Grand Forks does have a billboard cap. They're allowed. We just raised it to 111. It gets raised every 10 years with the census, and in the past there was a cap also on the limit on South Washington Street from Demers to the southern extents of the city's extraterritorial area, and this ordinance proposes to remove that cap. We'd still have the cap of 111 for the city, which I think I've mentioned to you in the past. We have the applications in hand right now to fill those. We're still evaluating those, and some of them will come before you potentially even next month because they are on South Washington. This ordinance proposes as well to any request that comes along South Washington would still come before you, whether or not it was part of our no net loss policy or just a new request. So keep that in mind as well. That's the way it was drafted. In addition, the other request that came through our science subcommittee was to allow this for any commercial district, whether it was conventionally zoned B3, which is they're typically allowed on, but also along any PUD zoned area that's allowed for commercial in this corridor only. So I do know we have potential public person as well here to speak tonight that may have some questions or some comments as well. So that's the end of my comments, but stand ready if you have any questions.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Brooks before there's another public hearing on this one. Not seeing any yet. I've opened the public hearing. Anybody in the audience like to step up and address 3-4, do so at this time. Not seeing anyone yet. We'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the commission.
Maybe I answered his question, so.
I think you did.
Yep.
One quick question. You said it's from Demers to 62nd.
No, it'd be the city's extraterritorial area goes further out than that. It goes south of Merrifield. Yep. A mile south of Merrifield is where the current extent goes.
Any other? Mr. Mattson?
Yes. So how many signs are on Washington right now?
There is 8, and we have a request for a 9th currently, and so yeah, that's where the numbers are at.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 3-4 pass.
We had no motion.
No motion, man, was I fast? I don't have Reichert sitting next to me elbowing me. God, it's been that kind of a day. Miss Sandy moved approval.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Harrell. Any further discussion? See, Frank started with his discussion, or Pete did. Done. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. 3-4 passes. Sorry about that. 3.5.
Item 3-5, public hearing ordinance to amend Chapter 8 Land Development Code, amending Section 18-0301 relating to high school ground monument signs.
Mr. Brooks.
Thank you. So the one item, let me take a look. This one is the high school ground monument sign. So last month, we started, well, actually even back in May, to the sign subcommittee, request from the high schools in town requested to have signs that could have off-premise sponsorship on the signs. And so we put together an ordinance that allowed for those Grand Forks Public Schools to have that. We did make one change. Thank you, Commissioner Butke did contact us today. Found a better location within the B4. We have a section of code that the text would still be the same, but actually putting it, I think, in the proper place, because there's a place within our B4 that actually talks about location of permitted signs, and so we'll add that as C5 is within that location, but all the wording is still the same. So that is going to be an amended request from staff to the board. Changes, all the text would still be the same, so it'd still have the same effect. But with that, anything in the B4 is still recommended to go through DDRB for their approval as well. So with that, we're recommending approval from a staff level.
Okay. Now, any comments before we open the public hearing? Seeing none, open the public hearing. Anybody in the audience like to step up and address 3.5, please do so. Seeing no one, close the public hearing, bring it back to the commission. Moved by Ms. Sandy. Second by Mr. Kuhn. Any further discussion? Mr. Boyke.
Real quick, just wanted to point out the edits from last time, removing the direct references to Central and Red River, and then also noting the DDRB approval. I appreciate those. I thought those were good edits. And then, yeah, as far as the location, it was 8C, right? So the whole context would just be the following section applies to signage in the B4, and then only the following signs are permitted in the B4 district. It makes a little more sense in context.
Yeah, we agreed. Yeah.
Okay.
And 8, basically that 8 takes you to everything allowed within the B4, and then C talks about the ones that are permitted. I might have said prohibited before I meant permitted, but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion 3.5 carries. All right. 4.
Item 4-1, gown addition located at 3811 54th Avenue South.
Mr. Brooks.
So I'll zoom out a little bit here just so we can get some context. Here's North Washington Street, and here's I-29. So up north of town, those two merge and connect, and we're just over here on 54th Avenue South. It's just almost just tucked within our 2-mile area. Here's 54th. It's just a couple hundred feet from North Washington. There is a home being constructed on this lot here. This is the location where this plat is going. They're looking to, as I zoom in here a little bit, mesh up with the back line of this neighboring lot. Just fits a little bit better. Typically in our ag districts, we have a limit of what our density is. This is an existing lot, so it's grandfathered in, and we just think it makes sense really what their request is in terms of they're going to have a 2.5 acre lot. They're looking to marry it up actually with what else is out there. So from that perspective, it was pretty simple request from our point. We have forwarded that on to Mr. Matichek as well, see if we get any, allow the township as well to make any request if there's something different that they want on the plat, and I think they're reviewing that request. So with that, we're recommending approval. This is a preliminary item. It'll come back before us next month with the public hearing. We'll stand for any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Brook? Mr. Matichek, please.
Just a couple quick ones. This is okay, this lot, it's fine. They have built up the lot already. I assume they're not going to have a basement?
I'd have checked with building inspections.
I think it's going to be a slab.
I believe that's the case, but
Okay.
I'd have to verify. I can have that answer for you next month.
Okay, and then Mr. Hennis lives over on 3501, and the lot in between is I believe it's a religious tower, a religious church tower?
The tower isn't religious per se, but it is for...
Or is it owned by Titan now?
Yeah, it is owned by the Rural Tower Network.
Okay, okay. And that's not a problem for either one of these lots? I think that's a 2.5 acre lot where the tower is?
Yes.
Yeah, and the tower's not that high, so, okay.
Certainly they're aware that the tower's there, as they're constructing, so.
Faulkner Township, as far as we care, we need some additional tax revenue since you've taken all of our other businesses out of it. So we think it's okay, and if you need a motion, I'll move to approve preliminary approval.
Thank you, Mr. Matichak.
Is this 54th Avenue North or South?
It is 50, yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That was brought to our attention. All the staff report, I think, refers to 54th Avenue South. It is.
Just checking.
Yes, thank you. We'll get that amended, thank you.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Lunsky, I saw his hand and I heard Orel, but second by Mr. Lunsky. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. 4-1 is good. Reports from Planning Department?
Just one, we have a new planner tech in our midst. Haley Grasser came to us from finance. We're happy to have her here, and she will be standing at the podium soon, so, with a few items. So with that, we do welcome her.
Welcome, Haley. You need a little help in finance, so nice marriage.
Yeah. It is, and it's always best not to make them mad, but in this case, we may have. So we'll see how our budgets go going forward. And I did introduce Sierra, just in name only, Sierra Johnson, who is another planner with us, and she's just out tonight. She has a public meeting that she's at, and she's going to have some conflicts on Wednesday, so it may be a bit before we get her here, but she will be, she is working with us, and she'll be before you here soon as well. So,
all right.
Thank you.
Mr. Matichak?
Yeah, I have a quick question for you, Ryan. I've received 2 phone calls, and I don't know why they call me and they don't call you, but they call me. And they're concerned about the Ray Richards Golf Course where the driving range was. Are there any plans for townhouses or any kind of development on that area? And one of them thought it was on planning and zoning. I said, I haven't seen anything tonight. So I was just gonna ask you for, maybe they're watching or whatever, is there anything going on in that area now?
I am aware that that there was some bids put out by the university, I think, in looking at options for a public-private partnership. At some point, that will have to come before us for a rezoning request.
Anything that happened there would have to come.
Yeah, and we just haven't seen anything yet, but they will, to build on that, they're going to need to do, I suspect there's going to be changes. I don't think a private company is going to come in and continue to operate a driving range. That's just my guess. So I think they're still working out those details, and then there'll be, what I've told them is it's going to likely require a neighborhood meeting separate from our body.
Okay.
And then obviously the rezoning is a preliminary through Planning Commission, City Council, and then final the following month. So
because I got a couple calls from the association people, and they just wanted to make sure they were going to be informed, and I said, I think you will. I'm pretty sure you will. So absolutely. I just wanted to make that public so we know that, and whatever happens, they'll definitely have a seat at the table, right?
Yeah, at some point there will be public comments, and we're asking them to meet with the neighborhood ahead of time, which the staff does typically attend those meetings when they do those as well. I
don't know that there's anybody that's against it. They just want to know what's going on. So, okay.
We haven't received anything yet, but I know the university's still working on
there must be some rumblings because these
Yeah.
people are hearing about it. And
I think I saw it in the paper that they did put out something for,
Okay.
That's where I thought but there's still more information to come.
Well, they'll be informed. Thank you.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
all.
June 17th, 2022, Grand Forks Herald put out an article that says UND seeking developer for a portion of Ray Richards Golf Course. So that's probably where the rumbling came from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure that townhome association. Please do, that's why I get paid the big bucks, and yeah.
That's right. I don't
I'll pass it along to Andrea.
Thank you for that, Mr. Matichek, and thank you, Ms. Earl, for the quick digging. All right, with that, anybody, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Move to adjourn by Bud Key, second by Mr. Lunsky. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, Wham Bam. Only one screw up, big one.